Shaun Cassidy wanted to make The Hardy Boys about police brutality, drug abuse, and real trauma. The network shut him down, so he smiled for the cameras and played the role everyone wanted. But in 1981, something broke inside him. He disappeared for 40 years. When he finally came back, he turned down $15 million to reboot the show. He said the scripts were too childish. Then fans started finding strange clues hidden in the original episodes: shadows, newspaper clippings, signs of psychological damage. The question nobody asked until now: what was he really trying to say? Shaun Cassidy was born on September 27, 1958, in Los Angeles. He was 1 month overdue, and doctors had to perform a cesarean to bring him into the world. His parents were both famous. His mother, Shirley Jones, had won an Oscar. His father, Jack Cassidy, was a Broadway star. But what the public never saw was the chaos waiting at home. Jack wasn't just moody. He was mentally ill, suffering from bipolar disorder and drinking heavily. He could be funny 1 minute and frightening the next. Sometimes he'd be found walking around naked, even watering the lawn in broad daylight. One time, he sat quietly in the corner of a room and whispered that he was Jesus. It wasn't a joke, it was real, and Shaun saw all of it. When Shaun was just 16, Jack had to be put in psychiatric care for 48 hours after another breakdown. Shaun grew up with furniture being smashed, arguments that lasted all night, and the constant fear that something worse could happen. He also had to live in the shadow of his older half-brother, David Cassidy. David was 8 years older and already a global sensation by the early 1970s. Between 1970 and 1974, David made $8 million and got around 25,000 fan letters every week. At home, Shaun felt invisible. Even though Shirley was his real mom, she played David's mother on The Partridge Family, and it felt like David was getting more attention on screen than Shaun ever got in real life. By 2025, Shaun admitted that David never gave him advice when he became famous. He said David was at a low point in his own career and couldn't bring himself to enjoy Shaun's success. That jealousy made every family dinner feel like walking on glass. Shaun learned to hide his wins just to keep peace in the house. By the 1960s, the Cassidy family moved into a mansion in Beverly Hills. It sounded glamorous, but for Shaun, it was a nightmare. He went to elite private schools where kids mocked him every day. They made fun of his mom, called her roles in musicals like Oklahoma corny and fake, and told dirty jokes about her that cut deep. One day at lunch, they sang a twisted version of "Oh, What a Beautiful Mornin'" while making obscene gestures. He felt sick and humiliated. Even though he went to school with future stars like Nicolas Cage and Lenny Kravitz, Shaun stayed isolated. The bullying turned into a quiet hatred for everything Hollywood stood for. But he kept going. Everything changed on December 12, 1976. Shaun was just 18 when his father Jack died in a fire. He had been drinking that night. A cigarette fell onto the couch, and the flames spread fast through his apartment in West Hollywood. Firefighters arrived at 6:15 a.m. They found Jack's body near the door. He had tried to crawl out but didn't make it. He died from smoke and burns all over his body. For hours, no one even knew who he was. He was labeled John Doe number 257 until dental records and a melted gold pinky ring identified him. Shaun showed up at the scene and saw the blackened walls, smelled the burnt flesh, and stood near the body bag. That melted ring became the symbol of everything his father had destroyed: his family, his future, and himself. That day never left Shaun. It later pushed him toward writing dark, emotional stories. After Jack's death, Shirley wanted Shaun to stay busy. She enrolled him in acting classes and sent him to auditions. One was for a $50,000 cereal ad. He didn't get the part. The casting director said Shaun looked too sweet and couldn't pull off a rebellious vibe. He said Shaun looked like he'd never broken a rule in his life. That crushed him. His mom thought he just needed tougher training, so she put him in more aggressive classes. But deep down, Shaun knew his natural personality didn't fit the Hollywood mold. While other kids were too wild, he was told he was too good. That stuck with him for years. In 1975, when he was still in high school, Shaun signed a music deal with Curb Records under Warner Brothers. His first single, Morning Girl, came out in 1976. It didn't do well. It only hit number 40 in Germany and didn't chart in the US. People kept comparing him to David, saying he wasn't mature enough. One Warner Brothers executive even told him to sex up his image if he wanted to make it. Shaun didn't like that. It wasn't him, but he didn't give up. In 1977, everything changed. Shaun released a cover of Da Du Ron Ron. It hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100 and stayed on the charts for 22 weeks. He was now a teen idol, but the success came at a cost. That same year, during a concert in Germany, Shaun collapsed on stage from exhaustion. He had been doing up to 200 shows in 1 year, often with only 3 or 4 hours of sleep between them. His team pushed him too hard, and his body gave out in front of thousands of fans. The tour had to be paused. It was a warning that this kind of fame came with a price. Later in 1977, his self-titled album sold over 2 million copies. But fame came with fake stories, too. His managers staged fake romances and photo shoots to sell more albums. One time, they made him pose closely with a model he'd never even met. He hated it, but was told it was necessary. He was 18, but had to act like a heartthrob with a love life made for magazines. That disconnect left him feeling like a puppet. In 1978, he released another album called Under Wraps. It had a darker rock vibe and even featured a song with Brian Wilson. But fans didn't like the new style. It only reached number 33 on the Billboard chart. Critics said it was too dark and called it an awkward attempt to change. Shaun felt crushed. He had tried to grow, but no one wanted him to evolve. His bubblegum image was now a prison. Things hit a breaking point in 1979 at Madison Square Garden. While performing, fans broke past security and rushed the stage. They ripped his clothes and pulled chunks of his hair. He had a panic attack right there in front of everyone. Scratches covered his arms. After the show, he started getting death threats, letters that named his home address and mentioned his family. That moment made him think seriously about quitting music. Shaun also tried acting. In 1976, he starred in a film called Born of Water, playing a boy struggling with his father's religious beliefs. It was a serious role, and different from what teen idols usually did. He played someone torn between love and fear of strict religion. It showed he wanted to do more than just sing. In 1979, he starred in another film, Like Normal People, about 2 mentally challenged adults trying to marry. He acted alongside Linda Pearl, and their performance got strong praise. It helped shine light on disability rights at a time when no one talked about it. During 1978 and 1979, he was everywhere, especially on Tiger Beat magazine covers. Those photos made him look innocent and perfect. Even though magazines didn't use Photoshop like today, editors still chose the most polished pictures. It was all part of keeping his clean image intact. He also toured Europe in 1979, where he faced extreme fan reactions. Fans would surround his car and try to touch him, even pull his hair. The pressure made him feel like he was being watched all the time. He later said it felt like being a caged animal. There was money, too. His face was on dolls, posters, and all kinds of merchandise. But he barely saw any of it. While exact numbers about his own deals aren't public, his half-brother David revealed in a lawsuit years later that he only got $5,000 from merchandise that made $500 million. Shaun likely faced similar problems. The contracts weren't fair. The system took what it wanted and left the young stars with little. In 1977, when Shaun Cassidy was just 18, he got cast as Joe Hardy in The Hardy Boys' Nancy Drew Mysteries. He was the first actor they chose. The producers were looking for someone who felt like a young version of David Cassidy, who was already a teen idol. Shaun had the perfect look, clean-cut, friendly, the kind of boy every parent would approve of. That image helped him get the role fast. But almost right away, problems started. Shaun had ideas. He wanted the show to talk about serious things. He even suggested an episode about teen alcoholism. But the network shut that down without thinking twice. ABC didn't want anything messy. They wanted clean, fun stories. Shaun kept trying. He pushed the writers to change the dialogue. He asked for deeper mysteries, but each time he was blocked. They didn't want social issues. They wanted safe stories. And that began to wear on him. The show aired its first episode on January 30th, 1977. Over 20 million people watched. That kind of success was rare, but behind the camera, things weren't as smooth. The days were long, 18 hours at times. The cast was exhausted. During the first season, Shaun collapsed from dehydration after a stunt. He had to be treated on set. Everyone was pushing their limits. They worked 6 days a week on Universal Studios' Colonial Street. The pressure to keep the show going never stopped. People thought it was a wholesome, family-friendly show. But behind that image, the stress was quietly building. By 1978, things got worse. When Pamela Sue Martin came in for Nancy Drew crossover episodes, a secret came out. She was getting paid half of what Shaun was making, even though her name was just as big in the credits. She was furious. She argued with producers. She said it was unfair. Then she did something no one saw coming. She posed for Playboy magazine. The cover said, "Nancy Drew Uncovered." ABC had no choice. That broke her contract. They had to fire her. That scandal changed everything. Her character was removed from the show entirely. The fan response was massive. Thousands of letters came to ABC every week, mostly for Shaun. Some fans were only 12 years old, writing love letters and even asking to marry him. Some letters were scary. They described his home, his routine, what he did in private. One fan even broke into his Beverly Hills house. That's when Shaun hired Gavin DeBecker. He was just 23, but already working in security. Gavin later protected stars like Jeff Bezos, but Shaun was one of his first clients. They set up security systems, watched the mail, and handled dangerous fan behavior. One girl even sent her report card, hoping Shaun would be proud of her. By 1979, the Hardy Boys still hadn't won any big awards. That year, the Emmys gave it just 3 technical nominations. People inside the industry later said it was on purpose. They didn't take teen shows seriously. Shaun kept asking for deeper stories, things like drug abuse, teen pregnancy, and police problems. But the producers said no every time. They were more focused on keeping advertisers happy than letting Shaun grow as an actor. It was clear his vision didn't match theirs. So by the end of 1978, he started thinking about moving away from acting. He wanted more control. He wanted to write, to produce, to finally explore the side of himself that was always hidden. The second season didn't go well. Ratings dropped. The show fell from number 61 in the ratings to number 69. That might not seem like much, but in TV, that was a big deal. Shaun kept asking for mature stories, ones about broken families, divorce, real life. But the network pushed back hard. Harriet Adams, who was 83 at the time and ran the Stratemeyer Syndicate, had to approve every script. She wanted the same clean image the books had always had. When Pamela Sue Martin left, only 3 out of 13 episodes featured her. It felt like Nancy Drew was disappearing. The balance was off, and the fans noticed. Things got worse when Parker Stevenson, Shaun's co-star, broke his arm in a motorcycle scene. They were filming at Universal Studios on the same street that Desperate Housewives would later use. Production had to stop. That delay cost a lot of money. It also raised questions about safety. These were young actors doing dangerous stunts. Stevenson was 26. Shaun was only 19. They didn't have proper safety protocols. The network finally stepped in and said things had to change. But the damage was already done. Shaun was also trying to balance a music career. In 1979, he was recording his 3rd album under wraps while still filming the show. His days were packed, studio in the morning, filming all day, singing again at night. His voice couldn't take it. Doctors told him his vocal cords were under serious stress. He risked losing his voice permanently if he didn't stop. That was when Warner Brothers quietly advised him to choose one path. He ended up choosing to stop music after his final album in 1980, Wasp. The schedule had drained him. In the same year, rumors started spreading about drugs. Not about Shaun directly, but about the young Hollywood scene he was part of. He went to parties. He saw cocaine. But he stayed away. He said he felt like Santa Claus to a lot of kids. He had fans who were 10 years younger than him. That made him stay clean. He also saw what drugs had done to his half-brother, David Cassidy. And he was close with his mother, Shirley Jones. All of that helped him resist. In 1979, ABC decided to cut Nancy Drew from the show entirely. The reason was simple. Nancy Drew episodes had lower ratings. They were also more expensive. The network didn't want to keep paying for 2 leads. Shaun pushed back. He said it wasn't right, that the show needed female characters. But again, he was overruled. Fans were furious. ABC got thousands of protest letters. But the decision was final. Season 3 dropped to number 92 in the ratings, just 13.0 points, the lowest it had ever been. Season 3 also brought a huge change in tone. The show was renamed The Hardy Boys. It opened with Joe Hardy's fiancée getting killed. That story turned the brothers into FBI agents. They worked on cases involving Russian defectors, heroin, and kidnappings. It wasn't for kids anymore. They even filmed scenes in morgues. Parents complained. The FCC got involved. Ratings fell fast. The show had lost its original identity, and it was too late to fix. By 1980, Shaun was still trying to save the show. He wanted to write stories about police brutality and corruption, but the producers shut him down. That year, he played his final concert in front of 50,000 people at the Houston Astrodome. He also starred in Breaking Away, a new show that critics liked but didn't get good ratings. It was canceled quickly. Warner Brothers told him again, maybe it was time to leave music behind. The Hardy Boys was still on Sundays at 7 p.m., but nothing the network tried could bring back the audience. The show was canceled on January 14, 1979. Only 46 episodes were ever made. Season 1 had 14. Season 2 had 22. Season 3 had just 10. The official reason was cost and low ratings. But the truth was more personal. Shaun was changing. He wasn't a teen idol anymore. His fans were growing up too. ABC didn't know what to do with him. They canceled the show so fast, even the cast didn't know. Years later, Parker Stevenson said an ABC executive admitted it was a big mistake. The show had once beaten 60 Minutes in the ratings, pushing it from number 10 to number 18. That didn't happen often. Producer Glenn Larson said the network had cancellation remorse because they never found another hit for that time slot. After the cancellation, things got strange. Fans started suing ABC. Some sent death threats. The FBI got involved. One threat was so serious that Shaun had to make a public statement to calm fans down. He was already struggling, and now he had to deal with this. The stress pushed him further away from the spotlight. Fan clubs kept writing letters. They tried to bring the show back, but it was over. In 1981, Shaun gave an interview that shocked people. He broke down emotionally. He said, "I've always had a dark side, but the image that everybody was pushing was the lighter one." He felt trapped. He wasn't allowed to be himself. He was just a symbol, a teen idol frozen in time. That interview made it clear why he had disappeared from performing. He said he had gone away for 40 years. Later, when he created the dark TV series American Gothic, people were surprised. But it made sense. That was the real Shaun Cassidy, the one he had been hiding the entire time. In 1981, Shaun Cassidy tried something bold. His music career was fading fast, so he turned to Broadway, hoping people would take him seriously as an actor. He joined a play called Mass Appeal. Critics were actually surprised. They said he had real talent, but the audience didn't care. As soon as people saw his name, they started leaving. Some didn't even stay through the opening scene. Word spread fast that it was the same Shaun Cassidy from the Hardy Boys. Within a week, ticket sales dropped by 60%. Fans expected lighthearted fun, not serious drama. The show shut down early. It lost about $2.3 million. After that, nobody on Broadway wanted to hire him. For the next 10 years, he couldn't land a major stage role. But the trouble didn't start there. A year earlier, in 1980, Cassidy released an album called Wasp. He was 22 and wanted to change his image completely. No more bubblegum pop. He teamed up with Todd Rundgren and covered songs by David Bowie, Talking Heads, and Pete Townshend. But Warner Brothers didn't like the dark lyrics. One executive even told him to lighten up or leave. The music didn't sound like Shaun. It sounded like a Utopia album with someone else singing. Critics tore it apart. One said it felt like a kid pretending at karaoke night. The album didn't even chart. It sold fewer than 25,000 copies. Warner Brothers dropped him right after. His version of Once Bitten, Twice Shy was so disliked that some said even Great White's version was better. By 1991, Cassidy gave up on music and acting. He tried something new. He wrote and produced a horror movie called Strays. At first, he wanted it to be a serious story about families moving from cities to the countryside. But the network didn't want that. They told him to make it about killer cats. So he rewrote it. It aired in December 1991. People laughed at how silly it was. One critic said, "This dopey script is by Shaun Cassidy? That Shaun Cassidy?" Still, he didn't give up. That flop led to something better. Behind the scenes, his life was falling apart too. He married model Ann Pennington in 1979, but by 1993, they were in court. Their marriage had been rocky since 1987. Pennington said he was distant and obsessed with proving he wasn't the happy, clean-cut guy people thought he was. She accused him of emotional abandonment. He had been taking darker roles, trying to erase his teen image. The divorce was finalized in November 1993. Cassidy paid more than $400,000 to settle it. The tabloids blamed the whole mess on his breakdown from years of pressure. Back in 1987, Cassidy did something shocking on purpose. He joined General Hospital as Dusty Walker, a villain. The character was involved in crime, manipulation, even attempted murder. Fans were furious. ABC got over 3,000 letters in just 1 month. Viewers felt betrayed. Some threatened to stop watching the show if he stayed. The producers panicked. His storyline was supposed to last 2 years. They ended it in 8 months. Cassidy admitted he did it to show he could play dark roles. But he didn't expect people to react so badly. Everything changed in 1995. Cassidy created a show called American Gothic. It was nothing like the Hardy Boys. It was dark, creepy, and full of supernatural horror. It aired on CBS starting September 22, 1995. He got the idea while acting in Blood Brothers with his half-brother David. Sam Raimi, who made Evil Dead, signed on as executive producer. The first episode cost $2.2 million. It had Gary Cole playing a sheriff who could snap someone's neck and then casually whistle a happy tune. Cassidy finally felt like he was telling the stories he'd kept inside for years. But even that show nearly didn't air. The pilot episode was brutal. A young girl was murdered. Her father was driven to suicide. It was revealed that the sheriff had raped her mother and fathered her brother. The opening scene had blood writing, creepy voices, and a dead girl crying tears of blood. CBS executives were horrified. But because of Raimi's name and the quality of the writing, the show went on. Even then, the network stayed nervous. Critics loved American Gothic. The New York Times called it the most original new show of the season. Fans said Gary Cole's role as Sheriff Buck was genius. The show had deep, smart writing and a strong emotional pull. But ratings were low. After 22 episodes, CBS canceled it on July 11, 1996. Many thought it was too smart and too dark for TV at the time. It didn't get a second chance. Still, fans kept talking about it. It became a cult classic. Still, Cassidy's story became a lesson for other teen stars. In 2010, people compared Justin Bieber to Shaun Cassidy. Both got famous young. Both had #1 hits early. Cassidy with Da Do Ron Ron at 19, Bieber with Baby at 16. Both were everywhere, then started to struggle as they got older. Bieber's manager, Scooter Braun, even said Cassidy's career showed how hard it is to stay relevant as a teen idol. Cassidy once said, "I was a teen idol. That has a short shelf life." And he was right. Then came his biggest success. From 2018 to 2023, Cassidy was executive producer on New Amsterdam. The medical drama ran for 5 seasons with 89 episodes. It made over $200 million through syndication deals around the world. Critics loved how he slipped darker ideas into a mainstream medical show. It got Emmy nominations. This time, people respected his writing more than ever. Cassidy said he finally felt fulfilled, not because of fame, but because of creative control. Even with success, he stayed true to himself. In 2018, he turned down $15 million from Netflix. They wanted to reboot the Hardy Boys, but the scripts were too childish. He wanted something darker. He wanted to show how the Hardy brothers might have had trauma from all the violence they saw. Streaming executives said no. Cassidy didn't care. He said the old show only worked because it had real teenage emotion. He wasn't willing to fake it again. Fans picked up on this too. Since 2019, Reddit users have found strange details in the old Hardy Boys episodes. Shadows, odd props, background newspaper clippings that matched real crimes. One theory says Joe Hardy was suffering from psychological trauma. Some say the 3rd season tried to explore this by having them work for the Justice Department, but the network wouldn't allow deeper stories. These fan theories later inspired the darker tone in the new Nancy Drew shows. By 2023, Shaun Cassidy's net worth hit around $20 million. Most of it came from shows he created, like American Gothic, Roar, and Invasion. Even the shows that got canceled early still made money through licensing. Cassidy said that fame felt empty, but telling honest stories brought real joy. He didn't need the spotlight anymore. He just wanted to create things that mattered, even if that meant turning down millions. That's how far he had come from the boy who once sang Da Do Ron Ron on TV.